Hey everyone, Manero here, and in this video I'm going to show you how I did this oil painting of a flowery scene in Procreate. So let's jump right into it. For this, I'm going to be using this photo for reference by Kerry Hu, and also Thick Paint, my oil painting brush set for Procreate, for which you can find the link in the description if you like to check it out. The first thing you're going to see me do here is preparing my canvas with a series of textures. If you're watching this and you don't own the set yet, all these textures are included, and it also comes with a PDF with in-depth explanations on how to set them up. So I will not focus on that in this video. For the textures, I'm choosing deep blue for my color base, oil texture 5 for my oil texture layer, and canvas 1 for my canvas texture. Then I'm lowering the opacity of the color base layer so I can see what I'm doing and start sketching using the super wet flat brush. A quick note, I'm going to be switching a lot between brushes, and I will not always mention it. But if you look at the left side of this video, you will see in real time which brush I'm currently using for every single step. Check out the top right of my screen as well to see if I'm using that brush with the paint, the smudge, or the eraser tool. By looking at the way I'm doing my sketch, you'll notice that it is not very detailed, especially in the area where the flowers are. That's because I don't really need a detailed sketch. All I'm focusing here is the basic shapes, proportions, and composition. For the flowers part, all I need is the overall shape where all the flowers and leaves are going to be, and I will leave all the detailing part for the painting stage. I then return the full opacity to the color base layer and change my sketch to white so I can see it better. I'm going to start painting the background now, using the Thick Paint 3 brush for painting and the Dry Oil Marks brush for blending. The reason I chose deep blue as my color base is because by looking at the reference, I wanted to have a color in the background that works as complementary for those pink and red colors of the flowers. I don't intend to use the exact colors from the reference, but to use them more as an inspiration, and I will do my best to take them further to make them more painterly appealing. You can see how I'm throwing in some muted purple colors alongside the blue. Purple is the complementary color of yellow, and I know there's yellow in the flowers as well, so I really feel all these colors will work well together. I want to make sure that the main subject really stands out, so I'm painting the background accordingly by making the center of the image lighter and the edges darker to simulate a vignette effect. Notice how from time to time, I'll use the brushstrokes texture too to introduce some natural and realistic brushstrokes here and there. I'm darkening the area right behind the jar and the flowers, and then painting the general colors and values in the ground area. Moving on to the main subject, I'm switching between a wide combination of super oil splats brushes to blocking the general shape of the flowers by using my sketch as a guide. Then I'll use the super wet flat brush to block in the general shape of the jar. Then I'll hide the sketch layer, since I don't need it anymore. Once I have that, I notice that my composition is a little bit too close to the top part of the canvas. So I grab all my painting layers, move them down to recenter my main subject, and repaint the top area. It's never too late to tweak your composition if you feel there's something off. In this part, you'll see me work with different brushes to start defining the flowers. I'm introducing different textures and brushstrokes. And from time to time, I'll go in with the dry oil marks brush to blend between the colors to add softer transitions. Now, using the blotchy oil brush, I'll start to insinuate the shapes of the leaves. Again, I'm not copying exactly the shapes or the colors from the reference, but more like using it as an inspiration. I'm trying to capture the general shapes and rhythms while at the same time giving it my own interpretation. Here, I'll switch to the split bristles brush. This one is very useful when painting long strokes to insinuate the stems of the plants that are showing through the flowers and leaves. I'm also using the hard edge and messy dry oil brushes to give a hint of the flowers at the top. The fine oil sketch brush allows me to paint in the more visible stems in that area with more precision. Using the white palette knife brush, I start to paint in some color spots where the flowers are going to be. I like to use this brush for flowers because it can paint clean strokes if you press hard, but also have a rougher texture if you press light, and that gives me a lot of flexibility in my strokes. Working with this set of brushes, I like to paint in a single layer as much as I can. This allows for the colors to mix nicely between them in a very natural way, since most of these brushes have wetness properties. I also avoid erasing. Instead, I prefer to paint on top to keep defining not only my main shapes, but also the negative shapes around the different elements of my painting. I keep detailing the flowers and leaves using different brushes. Notice how I started placing dark colors and midtones, and little by little, as I paint in more details, I'm picking lighter and more vibrant colors. Switching to the Super Oil Splash 3 brush, I'll introduce some color splashes to insinuate smaller flowers in a couple of spots. Then, using the Super Wet Flat brush, I'm defining the interior part of the main flowers. I'll continue to work with this brush to paint more accurately some of the leaves and stems, and notice how I'm painting the negative shapes around the top of the jar to specify its shape a little bit better. Then I continue to detail the flowers in any places I feel it's needed. Here, I'm using the liquify tool to change a little bit the flow and rhythm of those flowers and stems on the top part because I wasn't very convinced by how it was looking at this point, and I have to say that this fixed it pretty well. To finish up the flowers area, I continue working with the super wet flat brush to finalize defining any details that still were a little rough, working the main shapes, but also the negative shapes around the object. Now that I have the most important part of my painting done, I'll take care of the ground and the jar areas. For the ground, I'm using the white palette knife brush to paint some rough lines along the perspective as I see it in the reference. Then I switch to the dry oil marks with the smudge tool to blend the colors in some spots around the edges, because I want to guide the eye to the center of the image, so it's a good idea to leave the crisper brush strokes near the center area. Using the super wet flat brush, I'll define the lighter lines and back to blending the edges with the previous brush again. I'll introduce some extra texture in the ground area using the split bristles brush and the brush strokes texture too. Finally, for the jar, I'm placing some brush strokes defining the contact shadow at the bottom and also painting the projected shadow in the right side, making sure to blend the edges a little bit with the colors from the ground. Then I work the volumes and textures in the jar by introducing lighter colors, building up from the middle tone I established at the beginning. Notice how I'm following the rounded shape of the jar with my brush strokes, so that the texture wraps around the volume in a natural way. A little bit more detailing in the top part of the jar, and all that is left is to sign our painting. This is my final result. I really hope you enjoyed this narrated process video. Since it is my first time doing this kind of content, I would really appreciate if you leave me some feedback in the comments. Also, make sure to subscribe if you would like me to do more videos like this. And don't forget to check out my Gumroad page, where you will find these brushes and many others that I have available. I also have tons of free brushes in there, so check them out. All the links are in the description below. Okay, thank you for watching. See you next time.